Welcome to the Music Nut Program. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome back to the latest and final episode of It's Chris Whitley Wednesday. During the past 3 months, I have discussed Chris Whitley's 12 studio albums and his 2 live albums on a weekly basis every Wednesday. On today's show, I will do my personal ranking of the 12 studio albums. I will touch briefly on the live albums, and I will also discuss Chris's compilation from 2002, Long Way Around, and Anthology 1991 to 2001. So before I get started, thank you all who've been watching this series, whether you've been watching it from the beginning, you only checked out a few episodes, or maybe just checked out a few minutes of an episode and it just wasn't for you. I appreciate you all checking it out. It was a pleasure and a privilege to talk about Chris's music for the last 3 months because this catalog has meant a lot to me since the first album, Living with the Law, in 1991. My goal of this series was to talk about my love and appreciation for these songs and these albums that still mean a lot to me to this day. Having said all that, let's start the album ranking. Just to let you know, I like all of these albums very much. The first album, which will be at number 12, I would rank a 7. I would rank everything else 8.5 to 10. That's how much I value this catalog. My number 12 is Chris's third album from 1997 and his last studio album, proper studio album, to be on a major label, Terra Incognita. Now, why would I rank this the lowest? Well, the reason is this sounds like a mishmash between Living with the Law and Den of Ecstasy and its production. When you listen to this, it sounds like it was a compromise and that the record company was really giving Chris the business when he was recording this, because that's what it sounds like. And I don't think the songs overall are as strong as the rest of the catalog, although there's a lot of great ones like Clear Blue Sky and Weightless, which I'm waiting for Jason Isbell or Chris Stapleton or some other wonderful singer-songwriter to cover, so more people get to hear this song and that the Whitley family gets some royalties from it because it is a magical song. Powered Down is great. Cool Wooden Crosses, Gasket, Aerial, Alien, all great songs. I think it suffered a little bit in its execution, but nonetheless, there's still lots of love here. My number 12 is Terra Incognita from 1997. My number 11 is one of 2 albums he would put out on the same day in 2004, and that would be the acoustic album called Weed. This is acoustic versions of songs from the first 3 albums, Living with the Law, Den of Ecstasy, and Terra Incognita, respectively. It might seem like a low ranking, but it's just because it's songs that I've heard before, although I will say the songs that are on here that were originally on Terra Incognita, I think are stronger in their more organic form. And I do like what Chris did with the songs from Den of Ecstasy on here because it really showed his strengths as a songwriter. The songs from Living with the Law, I think, benefited more on the first album because of the recording, but they're still fine versions. Very well done. This is my number 11 from 2004, Weed. My number 10 is Chris Whitley's album from 2000, or 2000, yeah, 2000, which he recorded with Billy Martin and Chris Wood from Medeski, Martin and Wood. This is a covers album. This is called Blue Day. I'm sorry, Perfect Day. My bad, sorry. They really make the songs their own on here. This is the first time I ever heard the songs China Gate and Wild Ox Bone. And when I compared them to the originals, oh yeah, they really did these differently. But great versions of the two Bob Dylan tracks on here to bookend the album. Spanish Harlem Incident and Fourth Time Around. We got wonderful versions of Robert Johnson's Stones in My Passway, Willie Dixon's Spoonful, Lou Reed's Perfect Day, probably his most covered song. The Doors' Crystal Ship, Jimi Hendrix's Drifting. Very cool chill out album. They bring a lot of Martin and Wood really bring a lot of grace to these proceedings. My number 10 is Perfect Day from 2000. My number 9 is from 2001, and that would be Rocket House. Now, this was a very experimental album. We got Chris's banjo and national guitar and acoustic guitars and pedal steel amidst a plethora of turntables and drum machines and turntable scratching. It's sounds modern, but Chris really does this his own way. There's a lot of great songs on here. I think Say Goodbye is a gem, and I even though this was on Dave Matthews's independent label, I ATO Records, I think this should have got more of a break on radio, particularly adult contemporary radio. I think it would have worked very well on there, but so many great songs. Solid Iron Heart, the title track is wonderful, very hypnotic. I love Little Torch. I love Vertical Desert a lot. Wonderful stuff. Something Shines. A lot of great songs on here, but it's an acquired taste because it's something different for Chris at this point with all of these soundscapes going on. Speaking of soundscapes, I'll get into that in a little bit. My number 9 is Chris Whitley's Rocket House. Number 8, this would be the last album that Chris Whitley would release during his lifetime. This came out in 2005, Soft Dangerous Shores. Now, like Rocket House, there's a lot of different soundscapes and textures on this album. Malcolm Byrne produces this album. This was the first album he produced with Chris since Chris's debut, Living with the Law. This, on this album, there are a lot of deep themes lyrically and musically. It reaches that tone as well. Chris's voice isn't in the greatest form because at this point he has lung cancer. And it's a good album. It's very good in the fact you can listen to this as a piece, but it's very, very interesting. Even though Chris's voice is damaged, lack of a better term, it works well on these songs. It really gives them a different flow or meaning to them. Breath of Shadows is wonderful for Furious Angels, which was originally on the War Crime Blues album. This is a wonderful version. As Day Is Long is awesome. The title track is excellent. Medicine Wheel, where Trixie Whitley, Chris's daughter, joins him on the chorus, is very strong. Different album, just as Rocket House is, but it does reap tremendous rewards over time. My number 8 is Soft Dangerous Shores from 2005. I just had an album drop here. Let me grab it because that is my number 7. And my number 7 is Dislocation Blues. This is the album that Chris would record with Jeff Lang. This came out in 2007. Now, this album is a mix of originals from both Chris and Jeff, and some cover songs on here as well. Very interesting cover songs, such as the off-covered Stagger Lee, as well as Chris's Chris doing a version of Prince's song Forever in My Life, which is wonderful. They do covers of some of their other songs on here. Chris covers his own Rocket House. We have Jeff covering Underground. Jeff's song The Road Leads Down is awesome. It's my favorite song on the album. We also got covers of two more Bob Dylan songs on here, When I Paint My Masterpiece and Changing of the Guard. And what they do with Changing the Guard on here is awesome. They wonderful, wonderful version of this. The title song is excellent. Underground is excellent. Motion Bride. Very, very strong album. My number 7 is Dislocation Blues from 2007. Maybe it's 2006. I've read conflicting reports. I didn't buy it originally, I bought it later. My number 6 would be the first album that Chris would record on an independent label. This came out in 1998. It is a short, beautiful folk album called Dirt Floor. Dirt Floor really showed Chris's strengths as a songwriter on here. 9 songs, 28 minutes, just comes in and out, but it's very well recorded. It's very intimate and performed with a lot of class and a lot of grace. There's only one song on here that's a little more rock, and that would be Altitude. The rest of this is just wonderful folk music, great songs sung very, very well by Chris. Scrapyard Lullaby, Indian Summer, Accordingly, Ball Peen Hammer. That's a little more riveting because he's playing that on the banjo, and that is a kick-ass track. It's one of my favorite songs by Chris. It a wonderful lyric and delivery on it. Excellent track. The title song's wonderful. From One Island to Another is excellent. My number 6 is Dirt Floor from 1998. My number 5 is another one of his posthumous albums. Dislocation Blues was one, of course. And this is Writer In from Chris Whitley and the Bastard Club from 2006. Now, this album, we're getting into a bit of a trend here. It's half covers, half originals, but it's done with a lot of joy because Chris is dying at this point. This album was recorded in 2005, and you could tell Chris's vocals aren't very strong on here, but the passion and the fire certainly is here. It's actually an album that's performed very joyously. You wouldn't know that Chris was suffering from cancer if you listen to this recording, just with the lot of glorious renditions of the songs on here, such as the Stooges' I Want to Be Your Dog and Willie Dixon's Bring It On Home, as well as Gary Newman's Our Friends Electric. The originals on here are killer. I Go Evil is fantastic. I love that hypnotic groove on there. I love In on here. Cut the Cards is just an old school country song that works very, very well. I also love I'm in Love with a German Film Star, which was originally a hit back in the 80s in the UK. All Beauty Taken from You and This Life Remains Forever is excellent. Come Home is a wonderful instrumental, closes the album. Excellent, excellent album. Writer In is my number 5. My number 4, a lot of people might think this is a little high for this album, but I've always loved this album and it's grown on me over the years. My number 4 is from 2003, and that's Hotel Basta Rising. Now, this album's got more of a jazz feel on here. It's very laid back, but the songs on here are excellent. Breaking Your Fall would win an Independent Music Award for 2004. Frontier is a wonderful track. The title song is excellent. Blues for Andre is wonderful. The drumming on here is excellent. He's playing with the brushes on here, and it sounds so strong. Wide Open Return is excellent. Very, very, very well done. Beautiful song. Silhouette has that same kind of feel. A lot of space on there. Insurrection at Newtown's the only like real outlier on the album because it's done with a steady drum beat and it's a little louder. The rest of the album is very soft in comparison. Free Interval, we get another great acoustic or banjo ditty here from Chris. My number four is Hotel Fast Horizon. My number three is probably Chris's most famous album. It was his first album on a major label on Columbia Records. This was released in 1991, Living with the Law. Now, Living with the Law introduced me to Chris Whitley's music because I heard it on album-oriented rock stations, particularly Rock 107, WECX FM out of Scranton, Pennsylvania, locally owned and operated to this day. I still wish they had the long set list playlist like they had back in the day, but I know that things changed as time went on as far as musical tastes. This is a great introduction to his music. Malcolm Byrne produces this. This has the most accessible production as well as the songs. Living with the Law, the title song of Big Sky Country, actually hit the top 40 on album-oriented rock radio back in 1991. But there's so many wonderful songs on here. Make the Dirt Stick has this great Western feel to it, desert feel to it, I should say. Dust Radio is excellent. Poison Girls, very, very strong. That could have been a hit on AOR as well. Long Way Around is a great song. I Forget You Every Day is excellent. Look What Love Has Done. So many wonderful songs. Phone Call from Leavenworth. He goes straight up acoustic blues on that. Excellent, excellent track. This is an album that I've adored since the beginning, and I did show you the cassette in the thumbnail for this show, and I think I showed the cassette when I reviewed this album as well. This is probably the easiest album to find by Chris Whitley as well. This is my number three, 1991's Living with the Law. My number two is one of his later releases. This was the second album released on the same day in 2004, War Crime Blues. Now, this is just Chris, no band behind him, but he just got his guitar and a foot stomp and his vocals going on. This plays like a kick-ass modern blues album, but it's got a old feel to it in the way it's recorded and the way Chris hits these songs. I like to say Chris reinvented the blues on this album. And there's a lot of fire on here, but amidst the fire, we got a lot of songs that are more on the mellow side. We got some great cover versions too, where Chris makes these songs his own. Made from Dirt, Ghost Dance, Dead Cowboy Song, and God Left Town are furious, fire-filled blues songs, and they destroy. They're played more like in a punk vein, the way, but a lot, classier, of course, but the way Chris really attacks these songs, the way he sings them are excellent. And they're just well-written songs as it is, but it's the way Chris plays them and the way he sings them that really work. We got some more mellower tracks on here. Her Furious Angels would win Chris a Independent Music Award for Best Blues Song, I believe. That's more laid back, as I mentioned, as is the title song, War Crime Blues. Invisible Day is another mellower track, and same thing with White Rider. White Rider sounds like something right out of the 1930s. It's excellent. The covers. Lou Reed's I Can't Stand It, which is great in its original form, but more fiery here. The Call Up by The Clash, originally on Sandinista, which is done totally different, very, very stark. You really focus on the lyrics to that song, whether you could when you compare it to the original version by The Clash, which is kind of bouncy, but it's cool. Nature Boy is an a cappella version of the jazz standard. It's very short. He only sings the first verse and chorus. That ends this album. It's a short album, just maybe like a little longer than Dirt 4 was. Excellent album. It's an album that's always hit me. Very, very strong. My number two from 2004 is War Crime Blues. My number one, now, when I look at this catalog, I've had a few number ones. Living with the Law was my number one at one point. War Crime Blues was my number one at one point. For the most years, Den of Ecstasy, Chris's second album from 1995, has been my number one. If I were to talk about it today, April 17, 2025, April 16, I'm sorry. This would be my favorite Chris Whitley album. It's my favorite album from 1995 as well. I think this works as a piece very, very well. It's a 180 musically from what Chris did on Living with the Law. I think a lot of people were expecting Living with the Law Part 2. They were expecting more of a roots rock meets modern blues album. And here he does this psychedelic Jimi Hendrix thing, and the songs are very deep. It's it's an album that a lot of people did not like when it came out. I loved it from day one. It just always spoke to me. It still speaks to me. A lot of great songs on here, including the opener, Narcotic Prayer, the Raging Never. Oh God, My Heart Is Ready was the single and video from the album. We got a cover of Jesus and Mary Chain Some Candy Talking, which is very good. Din is one of my favorite Chris Whitley songs. Maybe one day I'll do a top 10 or 12 Chris Whitley songs just so I can talk more about Din, which I think is the song you want to go on the open road, you listen to Din. That's how I feel about it. Guns and Dolls is excellent. WPL, Wild Pagan Love. And one thing about this album is it's atmospheric, it's very dramatic because some of these songs are a little soft on soft side. The guitars are loud, but there's a lot of space on some songs, and a lot of the songs rage. Ultra Glide is a wonderful closer. Everything on here is awesome. An album is just it's like a desert island album for me. Let me just put it like that. But my number one is 1995's Den of Ecstasy. Now, live albums, I highly recommend both. Whether it's Live at Martyrs, which was released in 1999, or I believe it was in 2000. Whether it's that one or On Air, you can't go wrong. If you want something with a lot of fire and passion, you go with Live at Martyrs. If you want something more intimate, you go with On Air. They're both great. Chris's voice was a little stronger on Live at Martyrs, but he still sounds great on the On Air album. The On Air album covers more ground. It's a longer album too. This one, I believe, is maybe in the 49-minute range or so, and I believe this might be more around 75 minutes. I'm just doing this off the cuff. But either one of them, it depends on what kind of mood you're in. Something late night to chill out to, On Air. Something to get your blood going, Live at Martyrs. They're both awesome. Now, Long Way Around, an anthology from 1991 to 2001. This was released on Columbia Records. It's interesting that you got some of the songs from the indie album. You got songs from the indie albums here. Dirt Floor and Rocket House. And it's cool that they worked that out to put this on this album. But here, this is a nice collection because you get 4 songs from Living with the Law, 4 songs from Den of Ecstasy, 3 songs from Terra Cognita, sometimes in the original form, sometimes in a alternate version. You get 2 songs from Dirt Floor, and you get one song from Rocket House. You also get some demos on here. One of the demos is the hidden track at the very end, and Chris loved his hidden tracks. As for the demos kill. They're from 1992 after the Living with the Law tour ended. And these are just straight up kick-ass acoustic blues songs that when you listen to them, you're like, how are these not released on proper albums? Because these songs are so good. Home is Where You Get Across was originally on Live at Martyrs. And this version is just as wicked musically. Chris goes a little crazier on the vocals on the live version, but it kicks ass. Blister Breakdown, another excellent song. One thing I could say about these demos too, the way to record, it sounds like Chris is in the room with you. They sound that good. They don't sound like demos. They're great. We got a demo of A Pint of Lotion, a song that was never released on a proper album. Why? It was a great song. And at the end, we get a driving version of Long Way Around, much like the version that's on Live at Martyrs. And very well done. We got a Daniel Lanois single remix of Weightless. I'm more into the original version than this one, but I still like it a lot. We got an edit for the song Ariel. It just has more of a fade out on that. And we have Wild Pagan Love and Narcotic Prayer, which were both on Den of Ecstasy, in remixed versions that they're a little different than the original. But the rest of the songs, we have the original versions of Make the Dirt Stick, Big Sky Country, and Border Town, which were originally on Living with the Law. Guns and Dolls, Can't Get Off, which were both on Den of Ecstasy, Cool Wooden Crosses, which was on Terra Incognita. The Wild Country and Accordingly, which were on Dirt Floor and Say Goodbye, which was on Rocket House. So this is you want a good place to start. I mean, I always say Living with the Law is most accessible, but it's accessible in the fact that you have all these tracks that are remastered. This was produced by Danny Kadar, and it came out on Columbia Records on September 3, 2002, even though you got some songs out here from indie labels. The way it's recorded, produced, they fit right in. This is just a great summary of his work. We're not covering some of those later albums, which I really love, but this is a good primer. This is a good introduction. This is Living with the Law. Den of Ecstasy, as much as I love it, it might shock you at first because the one thing about Chris's catalog, there was levels, there were layers. He was restless. That's what I really loved about him because he was a excellent songwriter, a wonderful interpreter of the blues, and fantastic musician. But none of his albums are really the same. Some are a little similar in the way they're approached. A lot of the mellower albums, certainly. But they all have a lot to offer. And just listening to his catalog, Chris takes you on a ride. It is a wonderful catalog. And again, it was a pleasure and a privilege to talk about how much Chris's music really means to me. So, what do you think of Chris Whitley's music? What did you think of this series? What are your favorite songs or albums by Chris Whitley? Do you prefer some of the albums that had a busier production, which I'm not quite as much a fan of? Please let me know in the comments what you thought of the series, what your favorite albums are, what you think of Chris Whitley as a singer, songwriter, and a musician. So just to let you know, this will be coming out on actually I was saying 16th, 17th. I'm going to put this out a day early on Tuesday, April 15th. And as far as the channel goes, I'm not going to be doing a series for a little while right now. My focus is going to be the album War, the album After, artist spotlights. My next artist spotlight is on the band that is on the wall right there, the Steepwater Band. I will be doing that in the next couple weeks or so. And I'm going to be doing a lot more album rankings where I will touch on a catalog and rank albums from least favorite to favorites. I can do a lot of them. I can do some that I don't know if anybody else has even touched them. So, and that's saying that with a lot of respect to people who do a lot of ranking the albums. I love what Sea of Tranquility does. I mean, they touch on a lot of bands that I don't even know, and they give you an education on there. But I can talk about a lot of bands that I don't believe have been touched. And I'm saying that with confidence. So, because I'm in a lot of different stuff. So, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you for watching this series. Until I see you again, do what you love, and I'll talk to you soon.